Hi, I'm Carla, co-owner of On the Bluff Labradors, and this video is going to be about the OFA, which is the acronym, and it stands for the Orthopedic Foundation of Animals. So many years ago, the dogs, purebred dogs, began to have this hip dysplasia, and they felt it was genetic and it was being passed on. The jury is still out about that, but that's what they were saying, and this was, I would say, it started happening when, usually would happen when breeds got very popular, and so everybody kind of started breeding who didn't necessarily know what they were doing, and possibly causes hip dysplasia. It's hard to know. Anyway, the Orthopedic Foundation of Animals started this program where you would x-ray a dog's hips and then decide, vets would decide whether they were excellent, good, or fair, which is very subjective. They have certain guidelines that they go by, but it still is an incredibly subjective thing because same with humans, not everybody has the same hips, and with dogs, not everybody has the same hips. Doesn't mean they have dysplastic hips. The genetic form of hip dysplasia shows up between 7 and 10 months, so really it would be unusual for you ever to have a problem with this because you would never be breeding at that time. It's quite a long time before you breed. The dog is at least a year and a half, if not two. So you would know, and you would never breed your dog if they had hip dysplasia. Nonetheless, so now everybody has these certifications, and it's very controversial, and I would say in many cases doesn't work. So what they're saying is, if a mother's hips are good and a father's hips are good, then a baby's hips are going to be good or excellent. And that's just not the case in terms of if that were the case, then you wouldn't have to do your litter. If you were keeping a dog from that litter to breed, the mother's had good hips or excellent, the father had good hips or excellent, then the baby's hips should be guaranteed to have good or excellent hips. That's not the way it works. You have to do every single generation. So they can never be certified by what they call parentage like they can in DNA, because once you establish that in terms of DNA, that one dog doesn't have PRA and the other dog doesn't have PRA, the mother or father, then you know for sure that the babies will never have PRA. But that's not the way it works with the OFA. Mother's got good, excellent, father's got good, excellent. You still have to do the next generation and the next generation. So what are they really saying? What are you guaranteeing here by doing these parents? You're not guaranteeing the puppies. So that's one issue with it. The other issue is PennHip came in, which is from the University of Pennsylvania, and they had a whole other way of doing it. It's still subjective, but they had a whole other way of doing it. And they did a study with vets. They took 2,400 vets. They showed them a set of x-rays. And then unbeknownst to them, 6 months later, they showed them the identical set of x-rays, and 42% changed their grade. It's subjective. So, hips that were excellent were fair, hips that were good didn't pass, ones that didn't pass became good. It was all over the map when you looked at it. So it's subjective, and often, I don't know what the OFA is doing now, but they used to have 5 vets that weighed in, so 2 vets said this, 2 vets said that. If they disagreed, then the 5th vet would be would break the tie. Anyway, you're putting your dog under anesthesia for this. For many years, we did not do this, mainly because we thought it was useless, and also because we never had hip dysplasia, and still don't to this day. But now more and more people are demanding it. They think it makes a difference. They think it works. We don't. We always joke about we're going to videotape all our dogs and you can just watch them run across the field. I've had vets say that to me. They're not interested in the OFA. They just want to see our dogs run across the field. Obviously, they don't have hip dysplasia, and we would never breed dogs with hip dysplasia. But nonetheless, now people are demanding it. So we have been doing an OFA on all of our girls. Our boys already have all their OFAs because they're breeding outside the kennel, and breeders demand this. So we have always done the boys, but now we're doing the girls. So what I would say, my suggestion is if this is important to you and you think it matters, then go to a litter with with a girl that has an OFA versus one that doesn't, because our older girls, for the most part, don't have the OFAs because we didn't do it for years, and now we are. So that's the kind of the decision you can make. And we were just joking. We have this dog, LeGuin, who we didn't want to put her under anesthesia because she had problems with anesthesia at one point. So we didn't want to do the OFA because we don't think it works anyway. And she has this thing where she comes out and she gets out of this fence and she leaps over the fence and the stone wall. We're saying we should just videotape her because obviously she doesn't have hip dysplasia. Anyway, that's the OFA. That's what it's about, and you can make your own decision.